Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is October 6th, 2022. Can you believe it? Next month, we're already in the month of Thanksgiving. This month, we have Halloween coming up, so watch out for those ghouls and goblins. In our household, we call them our 4 kids. But at any rate, we love them to death. I'm really excited that everyone is here today, but I want to go over a few announcements. I call it the iNetrepreneur, handiwork that we have going on each and every month. And so let's go on with that. So the first thing I want to remind everyone is we are in the closing days of our #1 international best-selling book series, The Art of Connection. You can see the first 2 books back here. The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Inspirational Quotes, plus the other book, or the one that started it all, The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Networking Quotes. And we have achieved 43 #1 achievements in Amazon, and it's sold at Barnes & Noble. So it's all these different places, #1, so I'm really excited about that. We have some pages left. You can go to 365. It's 365 days of transformationalquotes.com. You don't even need the coupon code because you can go straight to the page and you'll get our best rates because we are at our closeout. So a page in the book is $127. We just have a few left. So if you want to be an international best-selling author, if you want to be a first-time author, if you want to have bragging rights of having to work in the Library of Congress, do that now because we are almost out of room in the book. Also, I want to announce we have an event coming up. It is our Unchain Yourself Women's Professional Conference. It is on Zoom this time. Last event we had with the Women's Conference was in person in Gilbert, Arizona. This one will be on Zoom. It's November 17th from 9 to 5 PDT. I believe that's before we go to our new time frame, because we're that crazy state of Arizona where everyone changes in the world, it seems like, on a different time zone, except us, because we are mavericks here in the state of Arizona. That's why we are 48, whatever that means. I don't know. I want to transplant myself here. I'm originally from Texas. But at any rate, please mark your calendar. Go to ntevents.net. That's ntevents.net. You can get more information of the Women's Professional Conference there. Along with that, you can also find networking meetings, academy classes, pop-up events, such as our Ultrapreneur events, our summits, and even be a part of our iNet Connect interview panels and so much more. Like us on Facebook. You can find us at facebook.com /iNetrepreneur like radio. I know you may not be able to spell that, but take a screen capture and then type it in and then save it in your browser. Okay, that will get you there. I guarantee it. Also, you can like us. You can subscribe to our 2 magazines. We have 2 magazines, the iNetrepreneur Network magazine and the Contemporary Woman magazine. So we have wonderful, amazing women in the magazines, CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners, gosh, for some of us, those who can help get rid of head trash, and a few good men. We even allow a few good men there who support our wonderful women in our iNetrepreneur Network community. And so those are a few of the announcements that I have each and every week. And again, we are here from 2:30 to 3:30, crazy Arizona time. Please, just even show up here an hour early. Maybe I'm here too and we can chat before the show. I don't know. But, I'm ready to get to my first guest. She is one of my favorite people in the world. I call her my literary partner in crime, Miss Diana Hooker. Hi, Diana. How are you?
Hi, Robert. I am absolutely fabulous.
I am so glad that you are here today. I always love it when you come onto the show because you do the very thing that I think is most important. You come and you bring it with a smile, each and every time. And it's like, how can you ever not be open in business if you lead with a smile, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even, I think I shared that actually at the summit that we had. I had that poem that I wrote where, a shiny or a smiling face in a crowded room is a reassuring voice of glory, not doom. So
Absolutely. And everyone, Diane and I keep teasing each other. I feel like we're going to eventually one day create this poetry tribe. Okay. And, I think that we're just going to have to do that. And maybe, all us entrepreneurs who are also, moonlight as literary, savants, we'll get all of our poetry into the book and share it with each other. I think that that would be so great. Well, everyone, I'm with Diana Hooker. She's an accountant, which is always so hard for me to believe. She's an accountant, and talk about a outlier statistically when it comes to accountants. You're that. She's a leadership expert, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and founder of Living Your Greatness. She can be reached at callwithdiana.com. We just talked about that before the show. Callwithdiana.com. It's the fastest way to get a hold of her, or you can actually just call her at 513-374-8135. Yes, toll fees may apply depending on the phone plan you have. So at any rate, Diane, it's great to have you. It's great to have you, on today. And I noticed something in your bio. There was a little change there that I hadn't seen before. And it says you're designated, as one of the 50 over 50 women making impact in Cincinnati. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, I know I've shared with you the different organizations that I belong to, and a fellow author decided that she wanted to put a book together distinguishing, different women in the greater Cincinnati area that are making impact. But it wasn't just her friends. It wasn't because we were in the thing. We actually went through a full interview process, and I didn't know if she was going to ask me or anything like that. And then at the end of the interview, she was just like, Diana, I definitely want to recognize you, in this book that I'm putting together. And she's a photographer, so it's a full out, photo shoot with a complete bio about the different things that I do. And that one of the things that I say, that when I wake up in the morning, I pray, please allow my words and my actions to make a positive impact on the people that I come into contact with. And so I, try to live that every day in what I do in the accounting world, in the tax preparation world, in the coaching, speaking, training, writing, whatever I'm doing.
And it really amazes me because so much of the time, I always say, if I say used car salesman, you kind of have an idea of what that looks like in your mind. Mad scientist, you have a kind of an idea of what that looks like in mind. Celebrity attorney, you still have an idea of what that looks like in your mind.
Right.
But as an accountant, I can truly say I've never, seen a Diana Hooker in what I see in thesaurus or Wikipedia as an accountant. Tell us, why did you choose accounting, and really, why does it resonate you from the heart, actually, but also what you're doing, to also create even greater space for yourself and others?
Right. That is such a great question. Well, I will tell you, I fell in love with accounting actually when I was in high school. And as you know, I grew up in Southeast Kentucky in a little coal mining town. And I had the opportunity to actually work in a coal mining office assisting accountants. And I just loved the problem solving of it. That's what it is to me. Even the tax preparation is all about problem solving. And, I've been able to use my 30 years of experience in accounting and tax preparation to help other people start their businesses, scale their businesses up. And it's all about problem solving. And then that's how the coaching piece comes in, is because I'm using all of that experience, but helping people with their businesses, to do that. And it's just the love of problem solving, truly.
Yeah, and isn't that what we all want? You've heard me train about this before. There's the who, the what, the why, the where, the when.
Yeah.
But when it gets right down to it, we all get really paid for the knowledge of our how we do the things for others, and that we do it with excellence. Although you do this in accounting, you kind of have this magic space within your mind that says, the numbers are really kind of like the report card in a certain way, but but you also challenge people to be in the light of their passion, to be in the place of their greatness, and to move forward with the ability to serve more. Tell us a little bit about how you're really a little bit different in how you push your clients, through the accounting and financial space.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many times I've had an appointment with someone and they've totally come in. We're going to do, some budgeting, forecasting, tax planning, tax preparation. And they walk out of the meeting going, that is so not what I was expecting. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
definitely get the job done, but truly, I'm all about them, right? So I'm asking the questions about, what is it that you're most passionate about? Do you want to get up and do, live your greatest life? What does that look like?
In
Right?
in yeah, and and a lot of it, a lot of the problem solving is, you know, a, especially when it comes to our finances, and especially when it comes to our mission and how we message what we say. I mean, a lot of that and it stems from our own self beliefs, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And you know what? I mean, we've got all of these experiences. And as you know, I have, my book that's going to be coming out in November, Unhook Yourself, releasing the stories that hold you back from greatness. We all have stories, we all have experiences, and those influence how we act today. And some of them, because of course it's a play on my last name, but it is also kind of like a fishing metaphor. Some of
Yeah.
those are like catch and release, and some of them are catches of the day. You need to distinguish between the two. What am I keeping and what I'm not? And that is kind of the journey that I take my clients through to help them do that. And I've developed so many different models, in each stage. I feel that there's like an awareness stage,
Mhm.
there is a knowledge stage, and then there's a wisdom stage. And I often ask, do you know what the difference is between knowledge and wisdom? Because it almost sounds like they're very similar words. And the
Yeah.
difference is action. Because we can
Yeah.
know everything, but until we start putting it into action, we don't really have that experience yet. So I've actually developed different models in each one of those to help take my clients through that journey so that they can have that successful business, whatever it is, so that they can live in their passion and get paid for it and make the impact that they want to make in the world as well.
Well, and that's what I love when you talk about that. One of the things that I believe that accountants do probably as good as, any other profession in the world is it really starts with an assessment. And it starts with an assessment of the financials, and you have to kind of pour through all these records, and you have to see where the business is at, and you see, how's the revenue coming in, how are the assets, marked, and what ways are the money going out through expenditures and in investments. But it's the same, that you utilize your same principles in accounting in a person's personal life. And what I find really interesting, Diana, is when it came to the book, I went through and I read through the two books, which was crazy. I don't know why I did it, but that was a lot to read again, because there's like 700 pages now between the two books. And so I
Right.
started marking like what people were talking about, and a lot of them really, the biggest theme of what people wrote about was first having self-awareness. To be able to change, they have to first be self-aware. But then the second stage is actually having this, like this self-assessment. And that's where someone else comes in, and all of a sudden they see something, or they do something, or they change something, or actually sometimes it's just like a book. Someone's pouring something out, and they actually create their own, they solve their own problem for that. Tell us what your ideal client looks like, and is that a part of what you see? You're as much shrink as you are number taker.
Oh, absolutely. So my ideal client, I mean, I do ask those three questions that I just said, before
Hmm.
is, do you want to live in your greatness every day? Do you want, to do what you love and get paid for it? And do you want to make an impact? Which might seem like broad statements, but truly, I work with mostly women entrepreneurs that have a great idea. They don't know how to get started. So, like I said, I'm using my 30 years of accounting experience and having two thriving businesses to help them model what they need to get it started. Or if they've already started and they've hit a plateau, then we take them out of that plateau and scale it up so that they can actually continue to have that thriving business that they've always wanted. So yeah, I would say like the female entrepreneur, is my ideal, or small business owners.
Yeah, but
That,
I also think it's also business owners that track well, and and
yeah.
and they want to create some type of velocity for themselves. I mean, I know that you haven't always kept every client that you've ever had, or sometimes you actually have to say no to certain clients because they actually don't necessarily fit what you're looking for. Isn't that true?
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of the things. So when, someone does book an appointment with me, which the best way to do it is that callwithdiana.com. And I do a discovery call with everyone to decide if we are a good match to continue to work for. Do the principles that I, present align with what they want to create, right? And if we're going to work well together. And if not, I will tell them, I don't think that I'm the right fit for you. I think this is the type of person that you're looking for. That would be a better fit. Or if I start working with them, and we need to part ways. But I will tell you, actually, Robert, when somebody starts working with me, I have a pretty good loyalty base. So I've kept more than the third, because everything's attrition.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
no,
actually kept more than my
absolutely.
attrition because I do build relationships with people. And I think that's part of like what you covered in your Art of Connection Summit was just about the connections that you make with people. And that is so important. And I consider them my family. I consider them my people. They're not really clients. I actually refer to them as my people,
Yeah, you know,
because
and
are my family now.
and and it's really because that's where I think that we have a very shared space. And I tell this people a lot of time, and there's all sorts of different personalities that are in business, and many of them are very action oriented, and many are very blueprint oriented. But this community is very nurturing oriented. What I found about the nurturers are that sometimes they're slower to take on and spend their money, but when they do, they're the most loyal personality type that you could ever have. They don't chase the shiny objects. They create those bonds, and they want to be a part of that. Reciprocal servicing, so to speak, that I haven't seen in any other communities, and that's what I think is really interesting about ours. I want to leave this. I mean, it's like our time goes by way too quick. It's like we're already butting up on it. Um, Before I go, I just, I want to talk to you about something that I think the entrepreneurs really should avail to themselves more often. And you and I both do this. I mean, I have, ask my wife, I have journal after journal. I have page after page. I write, I scribble, I diagram. I do that, for people like you and me, why is journaling so important for the entrepreneur, given all the things that we do? You and I talk about problem solving, and being creative and memorializing things, but to build upon that, why is problem solving through writing so important in your eyes, Diana?
I am so glad that you brought this up, Robert. I do love writing, and I have probably hundreds of journals and notebooks, and I love the act of writing. But the reason why that it is so important in entrepreneurship, in business, is that when you physically write it down, not type it into the computer, but when you
Mhm.
physically write it down, you actually invite it into existence. And I mean, that might sound like too energetic or whatever, but I am telling you, it is true. When you write it down, you make it come real. You are inviting it into your life to make it happen. And that's one of the things I love, love, love to write down my business plan long before I ever, put it into the computer, or just even anything that I'm dreaming about, and like really just be as colorful as possible in it, and use as many of my senses that I possibly can, which that that's how I write as
Oh,
well.
absolutely. And I say, even in the book, it's like, you have the eyesight, the hearing, the taste, the feeling, the smelling. The more of the senses that you utilize, the more memorable, you become in every story that you tell. And I tell entrepreneurs, the goal isn't just having people aware of you. The goal is actually having people remember you.
Right.
That's so important.
Right.
I've seen too many entrepreneurs train their very client away to someone else, not because the training wasn't right, but the memory of where that initial point of education or information stemmed from. And I think it's so important that we do that. Well, I'm Diana. Oh my goodness, we're at the end of the section again. I have been talking with Diana Hooker, and I used to have a tagline for you, and I don't say it anymore. At the, you know, she is founder of Living Your Greatness. She can be reached at callwithdiana.com, or you can just call her direct. I think it's an Ohio number, 513-374-8135. Diana, thank you so much for being here today. And I think we just have to keep making this a trend now, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Thank you so much, Robert. As always, I love connecting with you. And because we have a timed, we actually get to cut this in time, right? We can go forever.
I know. It's like and that's what great friendships do. It, great friends make everything funner. And
Absolutely.
and that's what you do for me, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much, Diana. Until we meet again.
All right. Thank you, Robert.
Again, I was with Diana Hooker. She's an accountant, leadership expert, best-selling author, keynote speaker. She's been a keynote speaker at our events, love her to death, and she's the founder of Living Your Greatness. I mean, every accountant should be like Diana, shouldn't they? So thank you so much for being on the show today. My next guest is Lori Osborne, and I can't wait to bring her on today. I'm just so excited that she's a member of the iNetrepreneur Network. Hi, Lori. How are you this afternoon?
Hi, Robert. I am doing fantastic.
I am so glad you're out there in love. Well, actually, give me an update because you're out there in Florida, as I recall. How are things going out in the sun? I don't know if it's the sunshine hurricane state right now, isn't it?
Well, it just kind of passed on through. I'm near Jacksonville, and we're in a great place in Florida because we kind of dips in and tends to go around us, and we literally had wind. That was it. Hardly even rain.
Oh
Power
my
stayed
gosh.
up and everything. It was amazing.
Well, I mean, the hurricane is just afraid of that Jacksonville area, I guess, and
I think so.
and they have a football team there too, right? The Jaguars.
We do, yeah. They're not actually that embarrassing this year.
What?
They're doing
Oh
pretty
gosh.
well.
I wasn't expecting that, but okay.
Sorry.
No, that's good. It's good to have a little bit of pride in for your local professional team. Well, everyone, I'm with Lori Osborne. She is founder and chief. I like this chief solution architect for BizBolster Web Solutions. She's a public speaker, best-selling author, and she can be reached at Lori at bizbolster.com, or you can contact her at 904-417-7110. And I'm so excited that she's here today. Lori, I love it, and I've talked about this with you, and I've talked about it on the panel before. And what I love, I said, gosh, I wish I would have had more women in the industry when I broke into the industry, when it came to the marketing and information technology biz. I remember, oh my goodness, when I remember the first time I was working as a contract worker for Intuit, and my boss, I was on the team with Bob Parsons, who was the guy who made GoDaddy and stuff like that. He had Joe Max Technologies, he did TurboTax, we created the world's first pop-up ads. And there is nothing worse than being locked up in a room with 20 other guys, doing programming and coding. I just wish we had a couple of women in there, because I know the dynamic would have been a lot different. Okay, a
Oh, I'm
lot different.
sure.
You
I
know,
am sure.
I but I love how change is. We just see it all around, and we're starting to see a conversion of STEM with men and women. Our children are grasping and holding on and going to areas that we've never seen before. I mean, isn't it as remarkable to you as it is to me?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every day I'm just blown away by what we can do and what's coming and AI and just, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's a totally different world from when we were growing up, for sure.
And with that, it's like we're start like when I first was in the business, technology really seemed like it was like the department that was the furthest from like the CEO and the brain trust of the office. It was always, like in the basement, or it was always the first department that got, we were always, it was like going to school. You'd have the school, and then there was the portables. Us tech guys were always in the portables.
In the
And
portables, right?
and I started as I started going through my marketing and tech journey, all of a sudden we finally got a seat at the table as a CTO. And I always remember the boardrooms. It was always, there was always like one woman in there, and I hate to say it, we like one minority in there, and then one tech guy in there. They started having I call them the token tech seats. And and I think, how far have we come from this very, how should I say it? I don't want to. I want to be politically correct, but I don't know whether to say it, from this kind of white bread stereotypical environment to really an inclusive, not an exclusive environment. Because in today's age, talent wins, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and it's funny that you say that because I was a technical recruiter for 12 years. And, you know, when you're recruiting for tech, you can't even think about what someone looks like. It's a totally different world than like sales or accounting or, because hopefully most tech people in general just have a little bit different personality and are a lot more expressive. And yeah,
Y- You
it's
know, and
it's a different world.
and people ask me, about tech, and I always tell them, one of the reasons why I loved, tech for myself is I was very, very shy as a kid. I'm very introverted. I'm not a person who would love to like being seen. I always wanted to be the wallflower. I love to observe and acquire lots of knowledge of the people around me. And
Okay.
well, yeah, you haven't heard this, so
I'm a little
this is a
shocked.
this is a funny story. So when I was young, I had selective mutism, and I had a speech impediment. I was a
I didn't know
stutterer.
that. Yeah.
So, that made it terrible. And I remember I was given this story, and my mom got up and said, "And don't forget your lazy eye," And so I had to do these exercises because I had this lazy eye, because one would like move and the other one wouldn't, or something like that. And I thought only a mom would bring that up in front of an audience. Thanks a lot, Mom. But it really, it really, I know, it really goes to show. And so for me, I started cutting my teeth on, programming called BASIC. And so that's what I started
Mhm.
learning how to do programming. And what I liked about programming was it was very, very safe for me. It was a place where I knew that I could have control of my environment. And at the end of the day, what I did either worked or it didn't work. And I found that once I started expanding myself into people, God, they were way more confusing than programming, but far more fascinating too. And
Right.
and I think that you know, and I think that that's what great, not good, but great web developers do. They're able to pair, technology and the marketing and the words and the colors and the usability, into a story that a person can consume. And that would be their clients. Tell us a little bit about how you, engage with your clients so you can help them tell their story through technology?
Well, I really start with focusing on their audience and who their best people are, their customer avatar, because one of the things that I think is easy to forget is in sales or marketing or any of that, at the end of the day, it's what the prospect needs, not what we need. And we've got to
Mhm.
speak their language, and we've got to speak in a way that's going to get their attention and answer their problems. So that's where I really start, is who is your customer avatar? Where are they? So where do we need to target? How do they speak? Are they educated or not? Are they highly educated? Are they PhDs? Or are they, high school graduates? What is their demographic? Are they male, female, parents, not parents? Because that all affects how we market and how we, our personality comes across to them. Because at the end of the day, the websites I'm building are to build relationships in
Yeah.
a technical way, but it's to open the door to build the relationships, which
You
is,
know, and
what
yeah,
your thing's all about.
yeah, and like when I was in the web development business, um, you know, the ultimate goal was whatever I did, at the end of the day, I wanted the user to come across that website and respond. Whether it was to pick up the phone, whether it was to subscribe to an email list, whether it was to
Mhm.
download a white paper, whether it was even to buy or sign up for a risk-free trial for some type of product or service. And
Right.
so many of the times, I'm sure you see this as well, especially as a solution architect. I mean, there are so many websites out there that don't they command the attention, but they don't command the response. Doesn't that make you go crazy when you see that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Or they've got the most simplistic of response, like sign up for a newsletter. Nobody wants to sign up for a newsletter anymore. We're tired of the endless
That
emails.
sounds like too
And,
much work.
it's got to be something that, you know, people are protective of their emails anymore. So if they're going to give you their email, it's got to be something they want. Like, we've got
Yeah.
to give them information, tools, something that really grabs their interest and helps them, at the same time as demonstrating this is who I am and how I can help you with your expertise. So I just encourage ebooks or guides or videos, something besides a newsletter.
Yeah, something that happens to be a little bit more immersive, and I think that that's really it goes back to people really want to have connections, and if the last 2.5 years with really people being kind of separated, and we're trying to get our sea legs back again, I think connection, even through landing pages and websites, the ability to do that is more important now than it's ever been, and
Yes.
that's what I try to say, it we all need to understand one thing, that you know one, no business or person has ever become successful without anyone aware of it, right? But
Right.
also, you know the second thing, no business or person has ever been successful without having something of service to someone, and that's really
Right.
what it's all about. It's like, to make me money, to save me time, to bring more of a quality of life, to bring me love, whatever that looks like.
Right.
I mean, part of our business space really is to you know go beyond the transaction. It's really to go into customer immersion, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Getting really everything we can do to get to know as much as you can through technology. I mean, even through videos, anything where you can see and hear, and just shy of being in the same room with the
What
person.
Yeah, it goes back to, like Diane and I say, it's like, how do we create things where the senses are involved? You know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I always say it's like, to be all things, it really starts to with people. It always
Right.
goes back to people. And I like to say
Absolutely.
this, you know, technology may be evolving faster than ever, but relationships don't.
No,
Relationships, they speed at the light of you. And if you want to go fast, they'll go fast. And if you don't want to go fast, guess what? I don't care what type of technology you AI with me blast. I ain't moving,
right,
because maybe you had
right.
a piece of spinach on your teeth and it's like, that's what I remember. And I don't want that, you never know, but it also gets back to like, and this is what I love about Diane and I, we are always so intention filled with words. And and here is another place, and I like to I have classes and I call them word theory class. And so we go in there and we craft and create word theory, so we can recreate how a person expresses their own personal avatar. And I do that because whether you're doing a bio on LinkedIn or a bio on a website, or you want to write on the book, I mean, words matter. They're so important, and they're really a part of just being found through SEO, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think, even
I know why
what's
you're
so
laughing. I already know why you're laughing. I won't drag it out of you, but I know why you're laughing, because it's beyond important, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Absolutely. But the thing that I find that's so hard for most people is knowing what those words are. It fascinates me when I ask somebody, what do you think someone types in to search to find you? And they have no idea. Like, you have to really stop and think, well, what, and they come up with all these big words to describe what they do. I'm like, that's not what people are going to type in. They're not, they're going to go, how can you fix this? Very, very, very basic. So I always have to get people. I just told someone today, I said, think about 4 levels less intellectual than you are. Like,
Yeah.
even try to go to kindergarten level and think, what would the most basic thing someone ask to get to what you do? Because
I
we're
love
used
that
to
you
being
say
words.
that. I love that you say that, because a long time ago I used to say this, and maybe I shouldn't say it now, but I used to say, go Jeff Foxworthy. I said, go Jeff Foxworthy. And he had, remember the game show that he had, the fifth grade, about the fifth grader. And it's just like,
Right,
so
right.
yeah. And I said,
Yes.
if you really want to communicate well what communicate it at the fifth grade level, because you will
Yes.
not, you will not offend anyone by communicating at such a level for, for most reasonable, um I businesses, and so I used to, and so they know like Jeff Foxworthy and stuff like that, and they know that he had all these different things. But I said, the thing is, you know the ultimate goal is not to overwhelm them with education. The ultimate
Right.
goal is to entice them with communication. And there's a big difference
Right.
between how embrace those two roles. But my question was, and I got off track here, you know knowing your words and search engine optimization, why is that so important when people are looking for it, and why is it always done wrong so much of the time?
Well, I mean, the biggest reason people are struggling with search engine optimization is just it's very complex, and just trying to understand and stay ahead of Google, which, Google runs SEO at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So trying to figure out what Google has done or is about to do, or, is in the process of doing, is the challenge. But, keywords are what the algorithms are looking at. So, if you've first you have to understand what the keywords are, and then they've got to show up on your website and in your media so that they will show up when people are doing those searches. Otherwise, if your website is just full of big technical words that apply to what you do, and they have nothing to do with what someone's typing to search, they're not going to find you, because
Yeah.
Google's
I
not
I
going to translate that for you.
I always say, don't use words that people can't spell if you want them to find you. And that is
Yes,
very, very, very important. Well, I
it's a
mean,
great way to put
Lori,
it.
these segments go way, way too fast.
They
But
do.
I did want to bring up like one sharing point, and it's something that you brought up before, and I think it's really important because one of the things I like to say is a person wants to get to know your who and your why before you get to the what and the how. In one of the things that I kind of caught that you said once is you said, you know, my brain tumor saved my life. And as a business owner and as a young person, what did you mean by that when you stated that?
My brain tumor allowed me to find my passion. If I had not been stopped in my tracks and forced to look at what else I could do with my life, I would have never discovered how much I love web design. And I am forever grateful
Mhm.
for that because, it took until mid 40s to finally be doing something that I just love getting up every day doing. And it's
Yeah.
been a life changer.
Well, I think that you have the heart and the passion to help others. And you know what? And I think that what you're trying to do is you're trying to redefine the world one website at a time.
Amen.
So
Yes.
everyone, I am with Lori Osborne. She is the yeah, amen, amen. She's the owner and founder of BizBolster Web Solutions. She's a public speaker, best-selling author. She can be reached at Lori at bizbolster.com, or you can call her. Boy, she put it out there. Oh my God, those bots are get her. 904-417-7110. Lori, are there any other ways that people can get a hold of you out there?
Just go to my website, get my free download to help you with SEO. And yeah, and you can sign up for a breakthrough session while you're there. Any possible way. Would love to help anybody. And I really, really appreciate this time with you, Robert.
Well, Lori, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for being in my life and helping others. I know that you have the heart and the passion to just bring people's websites and how they're found to life. And I want to say thank you
Yes.
for it because it's a much harder job to do right. It's an easy job to do, but it's a very hard job to do right. And I know that you do it right. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much again, Lori, for being on today. I was just with Lori Osborne. She is the founder and CEO of BizBolster. She can be reached at Lori at bizbolster.com. She says, go there, don't be square. So at any rate, thank you so much again, Lori, for being on the show today. My next guest, I cannot wait to bring her on because we have not had the privilege of talking on the radio show yet. My next guest is Rebecca Murtagh. How are you doing?
I am doing great, Robert. I'm so happy to be here. Very excited, and I'm loving the show so already. These ladies are a hard act to follow, but I will sure try.
I know. It's just like we go to Diana, we go to Lori, but Rebecca, you know what? You are going to bring it in. You're going to take the house down. Rebecca, she's a futurist, an author, trusted advisor, speaker, innovation coach, right?
Yes,
Innovation, and
exactly.
CEO of Human AI Institute. She can be reached at grow@geniusfoundry.com or connect with her at RebeccaMurtagh.com. And so again, I'm thankful you're here today because you have brought into my life a few things that I really have not thought about in a long time. Not from the standpoint of, AI as I knew it was coming, but from the standpoint of AI on where it will be going. And I think a lot of time, in my world, when I came in, I was in the late 90s. I was in the computer field, and I remember in the early 2000s, people had asked me, if computers were ever going to take over the world. And even 20 years ago, I used to tell people they already have. almost every business decisions of major corporations are already being founded on the metrics of market technology, you know. And so, however true that is today, isn't it, Rebecca?
It absolutely is true. Technology is in every aspect of our lives, as is AI.
And as AI evolves, I mean, it's not just about the marketing, it's also about the legal, it's also about the humanistic aspect, it's also about the cross-cultural aspects. Tell us a few things about how you look at the best practices to a certain level on how AI can be utilized for good.
Well, I'm very glad you asked that question. And then pardon me for my raspy voice. I talked a little bit too much last week, I think. So one of the things that fascinates me about technology and why I have other people have called me a futurist and I've embraced that is that the innovation of technology is accelerating so fast right now. There are opportunities. And what happens if we're not actually prepared to embrace or adapt to those opportunities, or disruptions, I call them, that's when we start to stumble. Our organization can stumble. Digital transformation has changed every organization in some way. It is AI, or artificial intelligence, has infiltrated every aspect of our personal and business lives. But what I like to focus on is the need for us to counter the investment in technology with the investment in human capital. And I call that human AI. So what it's really all about, Robert, is helping people understand how important it is for us to step back, realize that AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere, and
Mhm.
that disruption is inevitable. It is going to change everything. That how we operate in business now is nothing like what it will look like in 2 years from now. But what we can do is look ahead, adopt emerging trends as opportunities to innovate our organizations and future proof. So that's really what I'm all about right now, is trying to help organizations future proof so that they're not caught flat footed, they're not surprised, and they're understanding that along with the investment in technology, we also have to be investing in the human capital and what I call human genius, because I feel like every single person in the organization has something unique to offer. And if we can free up some of those remote tasks and mindless things that AI can do, that's where we should be moving, stepping into the higher level of human genius, talent, innovation, collaboration. And because robots don't innovate. They just don't. So
Yeah.
that's where I focus. I focus on helping people understand how to leverage the technology so that they can position their organization to be able to sustain and succeed in this ever-changing landscape.
Well, and that's what, I come to try to mesh around, in my mind. And that's, it's great being a disruptor, but let's be a responsible,
Mm.
disruptor. And, and knowing the difference, I have this saying that says, I don't mind a disruptor, I just don't want an interrupter. And, there's a big difference between being an interrupter and a
There sure
disruptor.
is.
And
Yeah.
many of the things that I always think about in my life is, for as fast as technology goes, what what's that?
I didn't say anything.
And so what we were talking, what Rebecca and I were talking about, as I said that there's a big difference between a disruptor and an interrupter.
Exactly.
All right. We had a lag there. Sorry, everyone. We had just a little bit of a lag there. But one of the things that I said for the longest time, and I love that you are a part of human AI, is for as fast as technology is, and when I talked about it earlier about human relationships, they travel at their own speed. There is no acceleration of human relationships in many ways. You can do different things. I call them the Jedi mind tricks of, certain tactics, to get someone to maybe trust you faster. But at the end of the day, we really, as human beings, travel at our own speed. And along with that, the biology of what creates us, which has been derived for, millions of years, also, travels at its own speed. And I think, a lot of what human AI, what I would like to see is that, we refine and define, how the appropriateness of AI should enter into our lives and when it should enter into our lives. Talk a little bit about that, Rebecca.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I think most of us are numb to is how pervasive technology has become. And while I have always been an early adopter, I love technology. I absolutely love innovation. And I've worked with tech companies for oh my gosh, over 20 whatever years. I don't like to say how many, I guess. But the the balance of that is understanding the impact on the quality of life and the privacy of humans and individuals and how we work together. And I think the bright, shiny object syndrome and the distraction of the devices has often, and this happens with entrepreneurs and executives just as much as it does the private citizen, is that we become so accelerated in trying to adopt the next best thing, we're starting to lose track of the importance of the human relationship, as you mentioned.
Mhm.
One of the things, so I'm actually releasing a book in the next month or so, probably like 5 or 6 weeks. The concept of quantum mechanics or quantum entanglement is is such a fundamental part of how we connect to each other, but also the universe and the world. And one of the things that people don't understand, they hear it, but they don't understand that there's a scientific basis for it. And although science can't completely explain it, so they still don't completely understand quantum physics and quantum mechanics and quantum science. But what they do know is that when two atoms meet, they are permanently bonded, they are forever changed, and everything that those two atoms do separately now impact one another for the end of time. So if you think about that and you adopt the fact that we humans are made out of atoms, that our relationships become so pivotal. And I think we've lost sight of how important those relationships are to how we network, how we choose our employees, how we choose the teams that we collaborate with, how we choose our vendors, where we live, where we play, so it really becomes an entirely new lens, if you will.
Mhm.
When we look at the world through that lens, you realize that every single person, you're in the elevator with a stranger, you might have only a millisecond, but there's something that happens organically with us. So I'm kind of saying, like, let's make the most of this and let's turn that opportunity into,
Yeah.
or turn that interaction into opportunity
And
for us.
yeah, I agree so much with you, because how I look at it, my when I went to my master's, which is exercise physiology and sports psychology, a lot of it was very data driven, and my minor was in business with a minor in psychology. And one of the things that I come to kind of understand is, you know, that I have a belief that atoms have consciousness, even
Mhm.
down at the smallest molecular level, and there's a certain amount of consciousness. And when there's a bonding, there's a little bit of consciousness that it might be minute, but it's always there, it's always shared. And that's why I believe, and I say this so much of the time, we can never be apart from the universe because we are part of the universe. And it's the same way I look at people. It's like, you're never going to be apart from the community. You're always a part of the community. And I think that that's something that we have to kind of retool, teach, and train people back into, because when I was in computing, I say, AI for good. My whole goal in working for corporations was to do one thing: extract as much wealth from all people as I possibly could, because that's how the AI was designed. And then the AI was designed in such a way that the management teams and the C-suite people, that's how they derived, their pro formas, so they could drive their business, so they could satisfy their shareholders, so they would rely on us tech people to try to drive that engine, over time. And I think, one of the things that I always had like a problem with is we can handle things, intellectually, and we can automate things from the standpoint of connecting. But one of the things that we never built into AI itself was what I called the human factor, and it was the emotional, construct that made us beings. And so if you don't have that, you can err pretty quickly, against humans, I think. And so I just wanted you to talk about, if you see that as well, or maybe you have a different interpretation on that.
No, I agree with you. And one of the things that you said that just strikes my heart is that the desire to create that driving engine, right? So the bottom line
Mhm.
is always the driving factor for most organizations. And somehow it has all been focused on technology. And what we're losing sight of is that driving engine of what makes the most successful brands in the world successful is innovation. And most organizations, so let's go through the data points. Only 9% of publicly traded companies failed during the last 3 recessions. 95% of businesses will fail within the first 5 years, and 50% will fail in the first year. Why does that happen? Because they don't realize success is not a solo journey, and they're trying to do it alone, and they're not realizing how much faster we can succeed when we collaborate with other people, and we connect and we leverage those interactions and those relationships, and that happens within the workplace as well. So when we have a framework to emulate the best practices, because there is such a small percentage of organizations that do sustain, that have that driving engine that you're talking about, of being able to survive and thrive amidst disruption. So we've had pandemics, we have inflation, pardon me, we have recession, we have disrupted supply chain, we have, so just go off and name it, and all the things we don't know that are coming yet, including AI, which how it will disrupt how we work and how we live. So if we are not continually innovating and we don't have a framework or a system for that, that's why we have such a high rate. People don't realize one great idea is not going to be sustainable. You have to be continually capturing and vetting and developing, running that engine, continually running
Yeah.
that engine of growth and innovation, and keeping your teams excited and doing it with purpose. And
Yeah.
there are proven methods for that. So that's what I'm focusing on. I'm using my 30 years of experience working with Silicon Valley to multinational brands, solo entrepreneurs, and everything in between, and helping them understand how they can future-proof their organization, be effective, be successful, but also enjoy the work that they're doing. Find more joy, harmony, and love in what they're doing, because it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be painful. And we
No.
have to kind of loosen up a little bit and have a little more faith in the human ingenuity.
And really have, it's like, and I'm going to bring it this way, because a lot of what I lot of learned in the financial world is they're really learning in the financial world that people need to have a relationship with their money, so they can certifiably, change their belief systems to be able to become abundant again. Now, one thing that my dad taught me, and he was a Mensa and he was a mathematician, he says, the one thing about knowledge is you can take knowledge in one area and you can reapply and readdress it in another area. And I think if we use his basis of understanding, is what we can do is say, if that is true, if said, hypothesis is true, and then we're able to interpret and, and seek some definition from it, then we can take that the same way. I think what we need to do is we need to look at technology, in the same way, and start to evolve it as a relationship partner with us as human beings, not as an adversary and not as a replacement of. And I think that that's where human beings really get messed up, don't they?
I agree. I think there's excitement, understandably so. There's excitement around new technology and innovation, and people that are in AI are driven. They jump out of bed in the morning to try and see how smart they can make AI. I'm
Yeah,
jumping out of bed in the morning to
I've,
help humans realize how smart they are. So we have to define the relationship between human and technology. I believe human first, and the technology should serve us. I think we all just, if we can come to that agreement, then I think we have a beautiful agreement. We have a beautiful environment to thrive in. But I agree with you. I think absolutely it
I,
should
I,
be
I,
a symbiotic relationship.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the things that I have here, because we're at the end of the segment, but I really want to get this out there because I've had my feelings on this for a long time. And one of the things that you say when it comes to people is you call it the greatest myth, on how people look at success. Tell us what you mean by that. What is this myth that people buy into in relation to success?
My feeling is that we all have been, society has conditioned us to believe that we succeed alone. And we're all learning, we're taking classes, we're putting our head down, trying to figure it out. When success is not a solo journey. I said it a little bit earlier, but it's really something that a lot of people just really can't wrap their head around. Once you get past that and you can embrace that concept, the world becomes open and innovative and creative, and opportunities just flow. So that's just really a basic understanding, and it's a myth that I think we really have to work hard to bust, especially for our younger people that are coming into the world. There's so much pressure on them. Their grades, what kind of college are you going to get into, and what kind of car are you going to drive, and where are you going to live, and how much money you're going to make, but they totally lose sight of the fact that success is not. We're not in a vacuum.
Yeah, and it's really funny because my sons, they look at it as we've glorified like the one, like they call them one person companies. So
Mm.
so everyone knows this, like, so Steve Jobs, but they think they forget that Steve had a partner. They forget that he had a staff. They forget that he had line managers. They forget that they had salespeople. They forget they had technologists. And and that's really important. And what I've told my sons, and I said, and I put this in the Art of Connection book. I said, when I was young, it was all about winning. But as I've grown older, it's about succeeding. Because when you win, there can only be one. And this is where you're so into it. But when you succeed, you can take everyone. And I think that that's kind of like the new universal rules that we need to apply today, that we are so interconnected, and we've been kind of sold a lie for far too long that we should be doing everything on our own, because quite frankly, as social beings, we are better together than we are apart.
You're speaking my language, Robert. That's why I started Human AI Institute. That's why I'm trying to help organizations learn how to do this, create a framework, and really just learn how. And the data is there. I mean, I can back it up with data. The financial benefit of approaching a human first organization. So I encourage anyone that's really interested in this, because I know we're running out of time. Just reach out to me, successwithrebecca.com. We can chat, just schedule a time, and I'd love to speak with you. But Robert, I see the scrolling credits, so I know we're wrapping up. But I thank you so much for the time today.
Well, Rebecca, I mean, lovely conversation. And today to me was wonderful because we blended in words, humanity, technology, numbers, all these things that really kind of weave a fabric of who we are as people in our relationship to our businesses. Rebecca, she's a futurist, author, trusted advisor, speaker, innovation coach, and she's the CEO of Human AI Institute. She can be reached at grow@geniusfoundry.com, or you can connect with her at Murtagh.com. Please, she is an amazing rock star, as is Lori and Diana Hooker. Rebecca, we're going to have to bring you back, and we're just going to have to do this again because we have far too much to talk about. And
I can geek out with you all day, Robert.
I can with you as well. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And until next time, is there any other way that people get a hold of you, or we got the best ways already?
Those are the best ways. Or if you just want to get to my calendar, just with successwithrebecca.com. And I love chatting with people. So if you're at all interested, let's chat.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show
Thank you,
today,
Robert.
Rebecca. All right. Wow. What a slate of 3 powerful, wonderful women. I mean, each and every one of them. Can you guys see why it's just so phenomenal to hear the stories, the backstories, the information, the education, the passion, the feeling. We had it all today. And I want to thank Diana Hooker, Lori Osborne, and Rebecca for being on the show today. Remember, each and every one of you can come to the show. We're here each and every Thursday from what time is it? 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. They were so good today, I forgot what time the show was even on. So, please, save us, bookmark us. Please come back and, show us your greatness along with us. Again, my name is Robert Jones of the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. Make it a great week, everyone. Until I see you next Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.